Hi, this is Dr. Eddie Morgan over at Clovis East High School, ready to help you with your homework again tonight. Tonight we'll be looking at worksheet 9.2a. Remember, the problems in this homework help mirror the exact problems on your homework. So if you just have a problem with one or two problems, fast forward to those problems and we should be able to help you out. Let's get started. Hi, today we're going to look at parallelograms. First two problems say find the area of each parallelogram. Now remember that the equation for that is the area equals the base times the height. And if that may be throwing you because you say, well, isn't that the area of a rectangle? Just consider this. If I have this rectangle here with an area there, think of what would happen if I took this triangle here and just moved it over here. Notice that I would end up then with a rectangle which is base times height. Okay, and so that's where the idea comes from. Just don't ever make the mistake of using the side here. It's the base times the height will give you the area of the parallelogram. So in our first one here, notice it's 15 times 4, or 60 feet squared. Again, we have the area, so our answer is going to be squares. Square feet is what we're looking for. Next one is just as simple. Area equals base times height. So my base is 11, my height is 6, so that's going to be 66 meters squared. Pretty simple. Problems 3 and 4 ask us to find the area again of a parallelogram, but they highlight two mistakes that students often make. In the first one, notice that we do have the height and we have the base, but we also have the side here. And often students will just think of a rectangle and go, oh, I'm going to do the length, the length times the width, and somehow do 9 times 7. But in this case, it's the base times the height. So we're using 9 times 6, not 9 times 7. So that's 54 square inches. In the next one, you notice they've measured the height. Here's the height coming down to a perpendicular right here. So we just have to realize if this is my height, I have to find the base that the height is connected to. In other words, it's coming down to this line here, so that becomes my base there. All right, so it's 9 times 14, or 126 millimeters squared. By the way, if I knew the area, I could have done it this way. If I knew coming down here this height, if I did this height times 12, it would be the same. All right, so it is possible. In other words, you can use the parallelogram and use either base you want and find the height to that base. Problems 5 and 6, again, area of a parallelogram. This time we have to recognize that on some of the times when you pick a base, the height is actually outside the parallelogram. You notice here's my base right here, but my height is right there. And it's outside, but that's still the height. In other words, if I put the height here, notice that that is the same as that. Okay, so it's really just that they've drawn the height outside of it. So our base area is base times height, so 2.2. Remember, if this side is 2.2, then this side is 2.2, times the base height 3.9. So our answer is 8.58 inches squared. Similarly, at number 6, the base is 8.5. And again, you see this as 3 here. But if I were to put the base here, this would be 3 as well. It's just that they drew it outside, but it doesn't matter as long as we know what the height is. How far is it between the two parallel sides? So 8.5 times 3, or 25.5 square meters. Problem 7 is the same problem, it's just they don't give you a picture. They just tell you that you have the area and the height is 7. So what we're going to do, in other words, we've got some kind of parallelogram, and all we know is that the height is 7 inches. We don't know the base, but we do know the area. So let's write the equation first. Area equals base times height. Now put in there what you know. So the area is 35. And the height is 7, so I put 35 equals b times 7, and now we just solve the equation. Notice to solve this, all I need to do is take divide both sides by 7 here. 35 divided by 7, this is going to be 1. 7 divided by 7 is 1. So B equals 35 divided by 7, or B equals 5 inches. And that's our answer. Problem 8 says that we have a parallelogram that has a base B and a corresponding height H, that they're in a ratio of 4 to 3. Right? That's basically saying that the base to the height is in a ratio of 4 to 3. They also say that the area is 108. So we know that the base times the height equals 108. So between these two, we need to find out what's the base of the height. Well, the first thing I want to do is take this ratio and solve it for one variable. So notice if I cross multiply here, I end up with 3b equals 4h. So then if we solve for b, we divide both sides by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. And we end up with b equals 4h over 3. Now we go to our area formula, and the area is 108, and the height is here. Well, we're going to put in for b, we're going to put in this. In other words, we're going to take this and put it in for b. So now let's solve this. So 108 equals 4h squared divided by 3. So let's multiply both sides by 3. That's what I'm doing here. That gives me 324 equals 4h squared, and that will simply divide by 4. And that gives us h squared equals 91. So now we know what h squared is. So if h squared is 91, that means h must be the square root of 91, and of 81, excuse me. And 9 times 9 is 81. So that means my height is going to be 9 millimeters. Now to find the base, we're just going to plug it back in the equation we had at the top. So the base is 4h over 3, so 4 times 9 over 3. 4 times 9 is 36 divided by 3 is 12 millimeters. And you can see the ratio 9 to 12 is the same as 4 to 3. And 9 times 12 is 108, so we have our right answer. Now we're going to do the same thing in the coordinate plane. It says find the area of the polygon with the given vertices. Remember again, I've already plotted it here, but remember how we would plot it. This is x, and this is y. So for point A, I start at the origin, right there. -1, I'm going to go 1 this way. Let me change colors to make it more clear. So I go left 1, and then up 2, and there's my point. All right. B, 7, 2. I start at the origin again, count over 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to there. And then y is positive 2, so I go up 2, and there's my point there. C, again, x, y, so start here and go over. This time I'm going to only go over 6, so I go to this point, and we're going to go down 4, so down 4, and we get that point. And then finally -2, -4, so here we're going to go back 2, and then we're going to go down 4, and there's our point. And then you would connect the lines. And now to find the base and the height, we simply we can count squares. Okay. So I see it's a parallelogram. I'm going to draw the height here, and I just count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is my height. My base here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So my base is 8, and my height is 6. So my parallelogram is simply 6 times 8, or 48 units squared. In number 10, we see that a classmate calculated the area of the parallelogram as 150 centimeters squared. What's their error and what's the correct error? Well, if you look here, what did they do to get 150? Well, obviously, if they took 10 and multiplied it by 15, that's 150. But remember that the area of a parallelogram is the base times the height, not the base times the side. So that's their mistake. They multiplied the base times the height. They did 10 times 15 when they should have did 10 times 19. All right? So the correct answer is 10 times 19, or 190 centimeters squared. So remember, it's the base times the height, not the base times the side. Problem 11 says that I have a parallelogram ABCD divided into two triangles along the diagonal AC. If you know the area of the parallelogram, how do you find the area of the triangle? Well, let's just sketch this first. And here's my triangle. Let me put some letters on it. A, B, C, D. There's my diagonal through. If I know the area of that, how do I find it? Well, just think about this for a moment. Do the two triangles have the same area? Sure looks like it. For example, that height and the height here, if I took the height of this triangle, notice that they would be the same. And they both, parallelogram means if that's B, then that's B. So they both have the same base and height. So they have the same. So if the two triangles are equal, then that means that they must be half of the area of the parallelogram. In other words, each triangle, if the area of the parallelogram is base times height, then the area of the triangle is going to be 1/2 base times height. Add them together, half base height and half base times height would add up to whole base times height. I hope this has helped you. Have a good evening.